Hey everyone! So this is kind of a fun little video that I thought about doing, which is to do a kind of currently reading book haul. Book thing, I guess. As we know on this channel, I do try to show off my author things while also gaming and then showing off stuff that I make on the crafting side. So this is kind of like, it's a variety YouTube channel and it's variety over on Twitch as well. But today I was like, maybe I can show off like the books I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading 4 different books, and I have 2 that are on my phone and then 2 that I am reading that are physical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the physical copies and talk about those, talk about how I'm feeling about them so far, and then we're going to move over to the digital copies, and then I'll put like either over here or over here a picture of the book that I'm talking about when it comes to the digital side. But let's see. The first book I'm currently reading is this one called Surviving the Narcissist. And as you can see, so far my tabs have been tabbing, but I'm currently there. Let me flip to it right quick. I'm 306 out of 729. This book is actually my sister's published work, Frances Woodard, which is here. And then, yeah, it's her memoir of surviving a long narcissistic relationship. Just a kind of a little bit of a blurb on the back. It's Surviving the Narcissist is a raw and unflinching memoir about love that had curdled into control, devotion that was twisted into manipulation, and the long, painful road to healing after escaping the grasp of a narcissist. This is her journey, her entire, like from when they were together all the way to from being married into the divorce and then healing afterwards. And this is kind of, I'm reading through it. The reason why you see me highlighting, a lot of mine are like this. So I'm going to put this up and hopefully it'll focus. Maybe. Kind of. I'll just read it. But the pink tabs are for things that I'm just like, I'm kind of angry at. And I'm like, how dare she? How dare she do this? I'm going to beat her up. It's my sister. Green are the general quotes. Blue is the parts that I'm like, my heart, that hurts. The orange ones are, okay, that's really relatable to myself. And then the purple is like, yeah, go, you got it. And it's mostly towards my sister. This is a lot of her journey. For a long time, you guys I may have spoken about this, that we actually reconnected over the past few years. For a long time, we didn't grow up together. So a lot of this she has talked with me about and talked to me about her past, but also there are some things in here that I don't know. And so I'm reading through it to kind of just talk about it and see what all happens. So I do recommend this if you are someone who is in a narcissistic relationship, or perhaps you've been in one and it comes to afterwards. This is a good one to read about. It should be available on Amazon. You should be able to, it should be on Kindle Unlimited, Kindle, and then the physical copy, as you can see with my hand. But, so this would be something I would recommend for those people. I have been enjoying it so far. I mean, if the tabs say anything, you know, but this is something, I'm going to be continuing to read until the end. The next book that I am currently reading is this one, which is the Native American Stories and Legends, Mythology and Folktale. I'm not very far in this. I'm on page 108 out of, let me get out of the glossary. 342. These are all, are kind of like show. Each one is like a little story. So it's like that's actually an introduction. Whoops. Let me do that. There we go. So as you can see, these are like 2 stories on 2 pages. And this is actually talking of mythology and folktale for Native Americans. And interesting enough, I've learned so far is some of the stories that I have specifically learned about are actually stories that I actually grew up with, and I've either heard them have been told to me, or I've heard through like other learning sources. One example of that is if you have ever watched, I think it was called Between the Lions. It's a PBS show. But it was a PBS show that specifically focused on different stories, folktales, mythology that was through different generations and different ethnicities. So there were some African folktales, there were Native American folktales, there were English, and it continued on from there. And I believe one of the stories I read in there, which it talked about the sun and the moon and how they created life on Earth, I believe that was on Between the Lions, but that might have been something that I've heard myself, so I'm not 100% sure. But this type of book, I'd recommend if you are interested in mythology or folktales. This is actually a really good book. It's actually the introduction is by Dr. Angelo Bacca, and he is one of the ones who has specifically researched on the mythologies and the folktales and created that type of story where it goes through all sorts of different things. It even goes through animals, plants, life on Earth, just different things that have come about during the folk legends or even mythology. And then the third book, which again will be over on this side because we are now switching to the digital books. So the next one I'm reading is the 10th the 10th manga of Haikyuu. I currently have an app on my phone where I'm reading different mangas, and I wanted to pick one. I wanted my first read through all of the manga to be something that was one of my favorites. And one of my favorite animes of all time is Haikyuu. For someone who is not much of a sports person, watching the volleyball and the story beyond the anime and how the different characters act with one another, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy how it's almost personable but also gentle in the same way. So I wanted to read the manga to actually see how the anime was been written, but to also read beyond where the anime is currently at. So I'm currently working through it. I'm 10 out of, I think it's 400 and something, if I remember correctly. I don't actually remember correctly, but yeah, I think it's over 400. Then, but that was something I was okay, maybe I start on a different, I'm trying to look at that, but I cannot find it right now. But there is I know it's over 200, but it's one of my favorite types of animes that I really enjoyed. And honestly, the manga still fits perfectly with the anime. It's very nice to see that, and it's also nice to see some of the extra content that is in the anime or in the manga, because there are some extra drawings or seeing how the characters are looking in the manga and how similar it looks within the anime. It's very interesting to see that, and I'm still I feel like I'm going back to the story that I just currently that I watched completely through. And fun fact, actually, the anime for Haikyuu was actually my comfort show during my masters, because a lot of times during my masters I could create or play video games or whatnot, but I found that there were some times where I just wanted to be left alone and to just kind of get consumed into something. And I found Haikyuu during that time And let me tell you, I got consumed in that show. I think I watched at least the first season, like all the way through. And of course, during my master's was right when COVID was starting to work its way out. So we were still kind of in the COVID in between. So it was good to be able to kind of work on something on my computer, but also be able to be like, all right, now it's time to take a break, kind of go watch a show. And so I found that that is where Haikyuu fits in. Then the last book is actually the next novel, or it's the third novel, I believe, of the Throne of Glass series. It's the Heir of Fire. And so I'm a little late on the draw. I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I enjoyed that series, and then I kind of moved on to some like other books that were on my list, you know, kind of moving here and there. And I finally circled back to Throne of Glass because I knew if I was going to read the series, I would need to be like prepared, because it is like a 7 or 8 book series, and a lot of these books are over 400 pages. So I knew I had to like be like, yes, I need to make sure I'm like ready for it. But I didn't expect when I first read the first book was how engrossed I was into the book. I found it was very easy for me to just jump in and be like, all right, who are we going after now? What characters are we going towards? What's happening from here and there? And what type of secrets are we uncovering? This series so far has been able to do that for me. It's been able to just kind of like throw the hook and just reel me in right afterwards. And it's quite fun to really see that. So that's why I'm currently reading the third book right now. The last book, finally, when it was like, oh, it's now Aelin, spoiler alert, but like how her name has shifted. And that she's like going off now. Now I'm like, well, what's gonna happen? What is she gonna find? Like, how is she gonna come into her character? And then my favorite character ended up being unalived, and then I was like, no, I really liked her, and then all of a sudden she's gone. Like, there was a lot of emotions through, especially the previous book, definitely. So those are the 4 books I'm currently reading, and what I might end up doing with this from now on, especially if you guys enjoy something like this, where I kind of give you my like current thoughts on the book so far, is to kind of create like a series out of this, but turn this more into whenever the books have changed. There might be something like specifically any books that I am currently learning something like this will take me a lot longer to get through, because a lot of those I'm looking at it through a more scientific or more historical lens. So I'm really trying to learn what the story is trying to tell me. The rest of them will definitely change throughout and might get added in some audiobooks, stuff like that. So it'd be fun to kind of maybe every couple of weeks or something, see where I'm at in the next book, or see if there's something new, and I can give you another synopsis of what I'm thinking so far. But if you guys have enjoyed that, please like leave a comment down below if you've enjoyed something like this, or leave a like, just something that tells me that you're like, yeah, this does sound interesting. So that is the end of the video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!